Father and his brother owned a hand laundry in New York, which meant they did certain things were returned pressed, and certain things were returned damp, and certain things were returned in a bundle, and certain things were ironed. But my father was sick already, and he was told to get out of the city. So they moved to Toms River. It didn't help. We lived in Toms River when I came when I was 4. I was 4.5. My brother was 6.5, and then my father died. So my mother had the farm, and she had a great decision to make. Should she go back to work in the factory as a dressmaker, or should she stay and run the farm? Well, she decided to run the farm, because the farm, she said, she'll know where her children are, they'll come home from school, both the school bus, they'll be on the farm, and she'll see them and she knows where they are. And when she worked in the city, they would be on the streets of New York. She would be in the factory, and her children would be on the street. So she made a very wise decision, and she decided to stay on the farm. Meanwhile, she and a sister of hers were partners on the farm. So she really had a little support system there, but not for long. They separated. Her sister bought a few acres across the street and had her own farm. My mother kept. But oh, I am. Is this better? Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll try this. Okay. And her sister bought the farm across the street, and my mother kept the one they had and worked very hard. She hired help, and she and the working man collected eggs and carried grain and brought clean water to the chickens and took care of children meanwhile. And we started accumulating relatives from the city. Some of them had no jobs and they had nothing to eat, so they came to the farm. And this was because the beginning of the Depression. Some of them had no work, so they came to the farm. We had whole families living on the farm with us because that was the only way their children could eat. But by us, it was a big playground. The kids were all between age about 4 and 10.
I think they're still having a
Only the weekend. And after they thought we kids were in bed, they went to a little place called, I don't know what it was called, the corner store, and it had ice cream and soda and crackers and cookies and things, and the grown-ups had themselves a party. There was a table filled with goodies, and Gussie would sing her heart out, and everybody sang with her. Now, if I could sing, I would sing some of those songs. Grown-ups had a life of their own. They had their own party. And we didn't let them go to bed without us anymore that summer. We joined in every single thing that they did. We found out that there was fun to be had, and ice cream and soda, and that was it. So we stayed up and had a good time, and let the little grown-ups go too, a little bit. Not too much, just a little bit. And other than that, everything went well with the grown-ups, except for the people being sick. I mean, they didn't fight. There were no animosities. There was none of this. I'm not talking to this side of the family. I'm not talking to that side of the family. Everybody chipped in, and everybody pulled their fair share. We had another aunt, my mother's sister, Anna, who lived in Olean, New York. Now, she also did not get to see the family very often, and she would come for 3 or 4 weeks at a time in the summer with her 3 children, Sarah, Helen, and Ida. And Aunt Anna, as soon as she came, took out the sugar and the cinnamon and the nuts and the flour and the butter and started baking. So we had a great time when Aunt Anna was there. She baked and baked and baked and piled up the goodies. We had strudel and we had roll-ups and we had biscuits and all sorts of things that were pies, the most delicious stuff you could imagine. And she would not give anyone a recipe. Why not? Why wouldn't you give anybody a recipe? Well, she said they'll spoil it and they'll say it's my fault. Now, she was right, because I had an aunt, I had a cousin, Edna, Now, Edna was also a very good baker, and we were grown up now, and she used to bake cakes for the pioneer women. And she baked a chocolate cake that was spectacular. Everybody waited for Edna's chocolate cake. Then one week, Esther Rosen said to her, Edna, give me your recipe. And Edna said, you'll spoil it. And Esther said, no, I won't. I know how to bake. So Edna foolishly gave Esther Rosen her recipe. And the next week, Esther Rosen brings a chocolate cake to the Pioneer Women meeting. And, well, it was a pretty crummy chocolate cake. And everybody said to her, who brought this? And Esther said, I did, but don't blame me. This is Edna's recipe. So that was the end of giving out recipes.